Millionaire wanted to demolish the building, but what he saw inside made him change his mind. Michael Thompson parked his imported car in front of the rundown building and checked the papers for the third time that morning. He had exactly 48 hours to assess the structure and begin the demolition that would turn this forgotten place into his new commercial development. The cry of a baby echoed through the creaky stairs as he climbed to the third floor. The slightly open door revealed a scene that made him stop in the middle of the dark hallway. A young blonde woman gently rocked a child in her arms, softly humming a lullaby. When she looked up and saw him standing at the entrance, Michael felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. Those light blue eyes, the small scar on her left eyebrow, the hesitant smile mixed with worry. It was her. After 10 years, it was really her. "Can I help you?" the woman asked, instinctively shielding the baby against her chest. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. I'm Michael. I'm here to inspect the building," he managed to say, trying to keep his voice steady. "An inspection?" She stood up from the mattress on the floor, revealing the nearly empty apartment. "Are you from City Hall?" "Something like that. Have you lived here long?" "A few months. My son Ethan and I found this place when—" She hesitated, as if she didn't want to share too much with a stranger. "When we needed a roof over our heads." Michael looked around, the peeling walls, the water stains on the ceiling, the cracked window covered with a cloth. In the corner, a few plastic toys neatly arranged and a small pile of folded clothes. It wasn't much, but everything was clean and lovingly organized. "Are you alone here?" he asked, still trying to process this impossible reunion. "No, there are other families in the building. We're a community. We take care of each other," she replied with quiet pride in her voice. "May I ask why you're inspecting the place?" The baby began to fuss and she gently rocked him again. Michael noticed how natural her movements were, full of motherly love. 10 years ago, this same woman had risked her life to save his. And now she was here, vulnerable, unaware that he had the power to destroy the refuge she had found. "It's routine," he lied. "I need to check the structural condition." "Well, as you can see, it's not in great shape. But it's our home," she said with a small smile that broke his heart. "I need to give Ethan a bath now. If you need anything else, you can find me. My name is Amanda." Amanda. Finally, he had a name for the woman who had haunted his thoughts every night for the past 10 years. Michael walked down the stairs like a man in a trance. On the ground floor, he saw more people. An elderly woman swept the inner courtyard while 2 children played with pieces of wood, pretending they were toy cars. A middle-aged man fixed an old bicycle, humming a country song. "Good afternoon," the older woman greeted him. "Are you the new tenant?" "No, I'm just doing an inspection," he replied automatically. "That's good. I was worried they'd kick us out. This place means a lot to all of us." Michael left the building with his mind racing. Back in his car, he grabbed his phone and called his business partner. "So, how long to clear the site?" Brian asked on the other end. "I need more time to assess." "Michael, man, the schedule is tight. The contractor wants to start on Monday." "I said I need more time." He hung up and sat there, staring at the building. Amanda appeared at the 3rd floor window, hanging clothes on a makeshift clothesline. The baby was in her arms and she smiled at him while hanging the tiny, colorful socks. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now continuing. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned in the king-sized bed of his penthouse apartment, remembering that rainy October afternoon 10 years ago. He was returning from an important meeting when his car got a flat tire on the highway. It was late, dark, and the rain had started pouring. As he tried to change the tire, he heard the sound of an out-of-control engine heading straight for him. The truck, skidding on the wet road, was coming right at him. Michael froze, paralyzed by fear, when a firm hand yanked him hard to the side of the highway. The 2 of them tumbled onto the soaked grass as the truck passed exactly where he had stood seconds before, crashing into his car and bursting into flames. The woman who saved him was hurt. She had a bleeding cut on her eyebrow, and her hand was injured by the debris. Yet, she was the one comforting him as they waited for help to arrive. "Everything will be okay," she repeated, holding his trembling hand. "You're alive. That's what matters." Michael tried to thank her, asked for her name, her number, anything to find her later. But when the ambulance arrived, they took her to one hospital and him to another. In the days that followed, he searched every hospital in the area, but no one had information about a young blonde woman with a forehead injury. It was as if she had vanished. Now, 10 years later, there she was, with a child, living in poor conditions, completely unaware of who he was. And he held in his hands the power to destroy the only place she could call home. The next morning, Michael returned to the building early. He wanted to talk to Amanda again, to understand her situation better. Maybe he could help her somehow without revealing who he was. He found her in the courtyard, feeding the baby with a bottle. She wore the same clothes as the day before, but they were clean and tidy. She had a gentle way of speaking to the child, telling silly stories that made little Ethan smile. "Good morning," he greeted her, sitting on the makeshift bench beside her. "Good morning? Back to continue the inspection?" she asked, not looking up from her son. "Actually, I was curious about you. How did you end up here?" Amanda hesitated for a moment, as if weighing whether to trust him. "It's a long story," she finally said. "I used to teach at a private school. When I got pregnant, Ethan's father disappeared. I kept working until the end of my pregnancy, but then..." She took a deep breath. "The school didn't renew my contract. They said it was budget cuts, but I knew it was because I had a baby to care for." "And your family?" "My parents passed away when I was a teenager. My grandmother raised me, but she's gone now too. It's just me and Ethan." Michael's chest tightened. This brave woman who had saved his life was struggling in ways he couldn't have imagined while he swam in money. "How did you find this place?" "By chance. I was looking for rent within my budget, but everything was too expensive. One day I was passing by and saw Miss Dorothy going inside. I talked to her and found out several families lived here, each helping however they could." "Miss Dorothy? The lady you saw sweeping yesterday. She's like a mother to all of us. She lost her home when her husband got sick, and they spent everything on medicine. After he passed, she couldn't pay the bills alone." As Amanda spoke, more people began gathering in the courtyard. Michael recognized the man who had been fixing the bike the day before. Now he was accompanied by a woman and 2 small children. "This is Mr. George and Mrs. Barbara," Amanda introduced. "George lost his job at the factory when it closed. They were staying with relatives but became a burden and came here." "And those children playing yesterday?" "Tiffany's kids. She works as a cleaner in 3 different houses to support her 4 children alone. Her husband left her and stopped paying child support." Each story was a punch to Michael's gut. Here was a small community of people who had lost everything but found each other, and he was going to destroy it in less than 24 hours. "Amanda, can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead." "That scar on your eyebrow, how did it happen?" She instinctively touched the spot, as if it were an automatic gesture. "It was many years ago, a car accident. I was coming home from work when I saw a man in danger on the highway. I tried to help and ended up getting hurt. It was nothing serious." "Nothing serious?" Michael almost shouted, but caught himself. "You saved someone's life." "Anyone would have done the same," she shrugged. "I can't see someone in danger and just stand by." That was it. Her natural kindness, courage, generosity. All the qualities that had impressed him on that rainy night were still there, even after years of hardship. The baby started crying and Amanda stood up. "I need to change his diaper. It was nice talking to you." "Amanda, wait, what if I could help you all find a better place to live?" She stopped and eyed him suspiciously. "Why would you do that? You don't even know me." Because I think everyone deserves a decent home. Thank you for the offer, but I don't need charity. This place may not be perfect, but we've built a family here. That's worth more than any fancy house." She went upstairs, leaving Michael alone in the courtyard with a heavy weight in his chest. How could he destroy this? How could he take these people away from the only place they felt safe? His phone rang. It was Brian again. "Michael, the construction company keeps calling me. They need an answer today. I need more time." "More time for what?" It's demolish and build. What's the holdup? There are people living in the building. So? Tell them to leave. If they're there without permission, that's their problem. It's not that simple. My friend, you're getting sentimental. Remember, we have $5 million invested in this project? If we don't start on Monday, we lose the funding. Michael hung up and leaned his head against the wall. $5 million against the lives of 7 families with nowhere to go. To any businessman, the choice would be obvious. But he couldn't get Amanda's smile out of his head when she looked at her son, or the tenderness with which Miss Dorothy swept the courtyard as if it were her own home. He decided to go upstairs and talk to the other families to better understand each of their situations. On the second floor, he found an open door and a black woman in her 30s organizing clothes on a makeshift clothesline. "Good afternoon. I'm Michael. I'm inspecting the building." "I'm Tiffany. Want to come in?" "I don't have much to offer, but there's coffee on the stove." The apartment was small and simple, but impeccably clean. The 4 children sat around a low table, coloring with worn crayons on reused paper. "Aren't the kids in school?" "They're on break. I work Monday through Saturday, so they stay with Amanda and Miss Dorothy. That's our support system here." "Amanda takes care of the kids?" "She's a teacher, so she helps with homework, teaches them new things. My kids have learned more in the past few months than in the whole year at school." One of the girls, no older than 6, approached Michael. "Mister, look at my drawing." "It's our home," she said, showing a paper with a colorful building full of windows. "Very pretty. And who are these people here?" he asked, pointing to the figures drawn in the courtyard. "It's our whole family. This here is Aunt Amanda, this is Grandma Dorothy. These are my siblings." "We're not blood relatives," Tiffany explained, "but here, everyone is family." Michael spent the afternoon talking to each family. He met Mr. George, a 50-year-old man who had worked at the same factory for 20 years until it suddenly shut down without warning. His wife, Barbara, had fallen ill and needed special care, making it even harder for him to find work. He also met Tyler, a young man in his early 20s who lived alone on the 5th floor. He had lost his parents in an accident and spent his entire inheritance on lawyers trying to sue the responsible company. Now he worked as a delivery driver for an app, but his earnings barely covered food. Each story was more touching than the last, and in all of them, Amanda appeared as a central figure. She was the one who organized task divisions, mediated conflicts, and cared for the sick when someone caught the flu. She was the one who secured food donations from the neighborhood grocery store and distributed everything fairly. When night fell, Michael found himself in the courtyard again, watching the routine of that small community. The children played together while the adults prepared a shared dinner. Each family contributed what they had, and the result was a meal for everyone. Amanda appeared on the stairs with Ethan in her arms. The baby was crying, and she looked worried. "He has a fever," she told Miss Dorothy. "I don't know what to do." "I have a thermometer at home," Tiffany offered. "And I have some children's pain reliever left over from my grandson," Miss Dorothy said. Michael approached the group. "How old is the baby?" 8 months, Amanda replied, rocking the child who wouldn't stop crying. "If the fever is too high, it would be good to see a pediatrician." "I know that," she answered with a hint of irritation. "But I don't have money for a private doctor, and the community clinic only has openings next week." Michael hesitated for a moment, then pulled out his phone. "I know a pediatrician who handles emergencies. I can call him." "I won't accept charity from a stranger," Amanda said proudly. "It's not charity, it's human help, at least let me call." Half an hour later, Dr. Robert arrived at the building with his medical bag. He was a middle-aged man who had treated Michael since childhood and didn't question when he asked for the favor. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The doctor examined Ethan carefully while Amanda held his tiny hand, humming softly to calm him. The apartment was full of people. The whole community had come up to check on the baby. "It's just a virus," Dr. Robert diagnosed. "And with the right medicine, he'll be better in 2 or 3 days. But you need to keep him hydrated and monitor his temperature." "Doctor, how much do I owe for the visit?" Amanda asked. "Don't worry about that now. Focus on taking care of your son. Dr. Robert left the medicine and prepared to leave, but not before pulling Michael aside. What kind of place is this, Michael? These people are living in very poor conditions. It's a long story, thanks for coming. Look, I'm not a social worker, but from what I saw, that woman is an exemplary mother. The baby is well cared for, clean, fed. It's just the financial situation that's tough. After the doctor left, Amanda approached Michael. I need to pay for that visit. No matter how long it takes, I'll save up the money. Amanda, forget it. It was a personal favor. Why are you doing this? Why is a stranger helping so much? Michael looked into her blue eyes that had haunted him for 10 years. Because I believe everyone deserves help when they need it. But I don't need pity. I can take care of my son alone. It's not pity. It's admiration. Admiration for your strength, for your courage, for everything you do for these people. Amanda fell silent for a moment, studying his face. There's something strange about you. I don't know what it is, but I feel like you're not telling me the whole truth. Michael's heart raced. Was she starting to remember? What truth? I don't know. I just feel like we've met before. Before he could answer, Ethan started crying again, and Amanda went upstairs to tend to him. Michael stayed in the yard, fighting the urge to tell her everything. But how could he explain he was the man she'd saved? How could he reveal he was there to destroy the only home she had? The next morning, the moment of truth arrived. Michael sat in his office, staring at the demolition papers. Brian walked in without knocking. Good morning, partner. I hope you've decided to end all this stalling. Brian, we need to talk. Talk about what? The schedule doesn't allow any more delays. There are 7 families living in that building. They have nowhere to go. And we have $5 million invested. Michael, you're losing focus. Since when did you become a social worker? Since yesterday, I met these people. They have stories, lives, dreams. Everyone has a story, man. But business is business. If you can't handle the demolition, I'll take care of it myself. What do you mean? I'll bring an eviction order. If they're there illegally, we'll just call the police. No. Michael stood abruptly. We're not doing that. Then what do you suggest? Losing $5 million because you got sentimental? We can build somewhere else. Somewhere else? Michael, we bought that lot specifically because it's on a prime commercial corner. Are you out of your mind? Brian slammed the door on his way out, and Michael stood there knowing he was losing control of the situation. If he didn't act fast, his partner would bring the police and force all those families out. He rushed back to the building. He needed to warn Amanda and the others to give them time to prepare. But when he arrived, a sight froze him in place. Ethan had gotten worse overnight. He had a high fever and couldn't eat. Amanda was desperate, pacing the yard with the baby in her arms while Miss Dorothy tried to comfort her. We need to take him to the hospital, Tiffany said. I don't have money for a private hospital, and at the public one we'll wait for hours, Amanda replied through tears. What if his fever gets worse? Michael approached the group. Amanda, I can take you to the hospital right now. My car is outside. I told you I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's an emergency. Your son needs medical attention now. Ethan was clearly worse. His fever had spiked and he could barely open his eyes. Amanda looked at her son, then at Michael, torn between pride and despair. Please, he insisted, let me help. Finally, she agreed. In the car on the way to the hospital, Ethan started convulsing. Amanda panicked and Michael pressed the accelerator hard. Everything will be okay, he repeated, as much for her as for himself. We'll get there in time. At the hospital, Michael used his connections to get immediate care. Ethan was admitted and placed under observation. The doctors said the seizure was caused by the high fever, but wasn't serious. With proper treatment, he'd recover completely. Amanda spent the entire day at the hospital, never leaving her son's side. Michael stayed in the waiting room, cancelling all his meetings. At night, when Ethan was finally stable and asleep, Amanda stepped out to grab a coffee. Thank you, she said, sitting beside him in the waiting room. I know I was rude to you earlier. Don't mention it. Any mother would do the same. No, it's not that. It's just, I'm not used to kindness without strings attached. For years, whenever someone offered help, they always wanted something in return. And you think I want something? I don't know. Do you? She stared directly at him. Michael felt this was the moment of truth. But before he could answer, his phone rang. It was Brian. Michael, where are you? I got the eviction order. The police will clear the building tomorrow morning. Brian, wait, don't do this. It's already decided. If you don't have the guts to handle business, I do. The call ended and Michael turned pale. What's wrong? Amanda asked. Nothing, just work stuff. But it wasn't nothing. It was the end of the world for Amanda and all the other families. In less than 12 hours, they'd be forcibly evicted and left on the streets with their children. Ethan stayed stable overnight and was discharged the next morning. In the car on the way back to the building, Amanda noticed Michael was tense and worried. Are you sure everything's okay? Amanda, I need to tell you something important. But when they arrived, it was already too late. 3 police cars were parked out front, and an officer was speaking with Miss Dorothy in the courtyard. Children cried as the adults tried to make sense of what was happening. What's going on here? Amanda shouted, running toward them with Ethan in her arms. Eviction order, the officer replied. You have 2 hours to gather your belongings. Eviction? What do you mean? No one warned us. Amanda turned to Michael, who stood frozen by the car, guilt written on his face. You knew about this, she said slowly, as if the pieces were falling into place. You knew and didn't tell me. Amanda, let me explain. Explain what? That you pretended to care about us? That you've been lying this whole time? It's not like that. Then what is it? She yelled, unleashing months of frustration and fear. You show up here saying you're doing inspections, pay for my son's doctor, take me to the hospital, and now we find out we're being evicted the same day? The entire courtyard watched them. Miss Dorothy wept as she packed her few belongings. Tiffany's children didn't understand why they had to leave their home again. Mr. George and Mrs. Barbara clung to each other, unsure where to go. Amanda, please, let me explain, Michael begged. Explaining won't change anything. We'll still have to leave. No, you're not leaving. What do you mean? Michael took a deep breath and made the decision that would change his life forever. Because I own this building. The silence that followed was deafening. Amanda stared at him as if he were a ghost. You're... what? I bought this place to demolish it and build a shopping center, but I changed my mind. When did you change your mind? When I found you again. Found me? What are you talking about? Michael stepped closer, ignoring the curious stares around them. 10 years ago, on a dark, rainy highway, you saved my life. A truck was about to hit me and you pulled me out of the way. You got hurt because of me, then disappeared. I've spent all these years looking for you. Amanda instinctively touched the scar above her eyebrow as if out of habit. You were the man on the highway? Yes. And when I saw you here with your son, building a family with these amazing people, I knew I couldn't destroy that. But your partners, they'll have to accept it. I'd rather lose 5 million than lose you again. The officer approached them. Sorry to interrupt, but I need to carry out the eviction order. You're not executing anything, said Michael, pulling a document from his pocket. I am the legal owner of the property, and I revoke the eviction order. What do you mean? You're the one who requested it. I changed my mind. These people have permission to stay. The officer was confused but couldn't go against the owner's decision. He gathered his papers and left with the other officers, leaving the community in shock. Miss Dorothy was the first to react. So you're our landlord. Will we have to pay rent now? No, Michael replied. You can stay here as long as you want without paying anything, but I'll make renovations to improve the conditions. The children cheered with relief, happy they wouldn't have to leave their homes. The adults exchanged disbelieving looks, trying to process everything that had just happened. But Amanda stood still, staring at Michael with an expression he couldn't decipher. You did all this because of me? I did it because it was the right thing to do and because I owe you my life. You don't owe me anything. Anyone would have done the same. But it wasn't just anyone. It was you. The bravest, kindest woman I've ever known. Amanda shook her head, still struggling to understand. I can't believe you remembered me all these years. How could I forget? You changed my life that night. I didn't change anything. I just did what I thought was right. And that's exactly what changed everything. You showed me there are still good people in the world. Ethan started fussing in Amanda's arms, and she instinctively began rocking him. The tender motion, full of motherly love, made Michael's heart ache. "So what now?" she asked. "What happens next?" "Now we'll renovate this building and turn it into a real home for all of you. Every family will have a proper apartment with everything they need. But why? Why invest so much money in strangers?" "Because you're not strangers. You're my family too." Miss Dorothy stepped closer, tears in her eyes. "Son, are you sure about this? You won't regret it later." "I'm sure, Miss Dorothy. I've never been more certain of anything in my life." Tiffany joined them, still in disbelief. "Does this mean the kids won't have to change schools?" "It means you have a permanent home. Forever." The next few hours were a mix of joy and planning. Michael called architects, engineers, and contractors, arranging renovations to turn the rundown building into a modern, comfortable housing complex. But Amanda remained quiet, watching everything with suspicion. That afternoon, while the others were busy planning, she pulled him aside. "Michael, I need to know something. Are you doing this because you feel indebted to me? Or because—" She hesitated. "Because what?" "Because you have feelings for me." The question caught him off guard. He'd spent so much time dreaming of finding her that he'd never stopped to examine his own emotions. "I don't know how to answer that. Be honest, please." "All right. Yes, I have feelings for you. Ever since that night, you've never left my mind. I don't know if it's gratitude, admiration, or something deeper. All I know is that when I found you again, it felt like a missing piece of me had finally returned." Amanda was silent for a long moment. "Michael, you seem like a good man, but my life is complicated. I have a young son, no money, nothing to offer. You have everything to offer. Kindness, courage, love. Those are the most valuable things in the world. But we're from different worlds. You're wealthy, successful, and you're the person who saved me, not just physically but emotionally too. You showed me money isn't everything." Ethan started crying, and Amanda stepped away to take care of him. Michael stood there reflecting on everything that had happened. In less than a week, his life had been turned upside down. He had given up on a $1 million project, broken ties with his business partner, and put his entire financial future at risk. And yet, he felt more complete than ever. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The renovations began the following week. Michael hired the best companies and personally supervised every detail. Each apartment would be equipped with a full kitchen, 2 bedrooms, a modern bathroom, and a laundry area. The building would get an elevator, an intercom system, an electronic gate, and a leisure area on the ground floor. During the work, the families were temporarily housed in a hotel that Michael paid for, but they made sure to visit the construction site every day, checking the progress and offering suggestions. Amanda grew increasingly impressed by his dedication. Michael wasn't just keeping a promise, he was turning the dream of several families into reality. "Why don't you have a family of your own?" she asked one afternoon as they watched the workers installing the new electrical system. "I never found the right person," he replied. "I always thought the problem was me, that I was too picky or too focused on work. And now I know I was waiting to find you again." The confession left Amanda flustered. She was still wrestling with her own feelings, torn between gratitude and the attraction she felt for him. "Michael, you barely know me. You know my situation, but not who I really am." "Then tell me. I want to know everything about you." They began talking more, sharing stories and memories. Amanda told him about her simple childhood, her passion for teaching, her dreams of having her own school. Michael spoke about the pressure to succeed, the loneliness money couldn't fill, and his search for meaning in life. With each conversation, their connection grew stronger. Ethan also started warming up to Michael, smiling when he saw him and reaching out his little arms to be held. "He likes you," Amanda observed. "And I like him. He's a very smart baby." "He takes after his mother," she joked, and Michael laughed. "Absolutely." But not everything was smooth sailing. Brian was furious with Michael's decision and threatened legal action. The construction company that lost the contract was also pushing for compensation, and some neighbors in the area complained about the construction and the presence of low-income families moving in. "Are you sure you won't regret this?" Amanda asked one night when the problems seemed to pile up. "I've never been more certain of anything," he replied, holding her hand. "This is the first project in my life that truly makes sense. Even losing so much money. Amanda, I spent years saving money without knowing why. Now I know. It was so I could do this. It was so I could find you again and help you all." She squeezed his hand, finally allowing herself to believe that this change in their lives might be permanent. 3 months later, the renovations were nearly complete. The building was unrecognizable. The facades had been restored, the interiors completely modernized, and the courtyard transformed into a communal space with a playground for the children. Each family received the keys to their new apartment in an emotional ceremony. Ms. Dorothy cried when she saw her new kitchen. Tiffany couldn't believe her children would each have their own bed. Mr. George and Mrs. Barbara were amazed by the apartment's accessibility, adapted to her needs. "It feels like a dream," said Tyler, the young man who lived alone. "I never imagined I'd have such a beautiful home." But it was when Amanda opened the door to her apartment that Michael felt his emotions overflow. She had specifically asked for an extra room to be used as a children's library, where she planned to give tutoring lessons for kids in the community. "It's perfect," she whispered, looking around with tears in her eyes. "You deserve so much more than this," Michael said. "No, I really do. It's exactly what I always dreamed of." Ethan crawled around the new apartment, exploring every corner with curiosity. When he reached the window, which overlooked a small garden Michael had arranged to be planted, he clapped his hands and giggled. "I think he approves," Amanda teased. "And you? Do you approve?" "Michael." She turned to him with a serious expression. "All of this is wonderful. More than I could have dreamed. But I need to know, what do you expect from me?" "What do you mean?" "You did all this. You completely changed our lives. What do you want in return?" Michael stepped closer, careful not to startle her. "I don't expect anything. I did it because I wanted to, because you deserve it." "But is there something you'd like to happen?" "There is," he admitted. "I'd like you to give me a chance." "A chance for what?" "To show I can be a good man for you and for Ethan. To prove my feelings are real." Amanda looked at her son happily playing on the floor of their new apartment, then back at Michael. "Okay," she said softly, "but take it slow. I have to think of Ethan first." "Of course, slow. I'm in no hurry." They began seeing each other regularly. Michael spent afternoons in the community, helping with final renovation details and getting to know the families. Gradually, he became part of that tight-knit group. Amanda started teaching in the children's library she'd created. The kids loved her stories and educational activities. Michael often joined, impressed by her patience and creativity. "You should open a school," he said one afternoon after watching her teach math using toys. "Someday, maybe," she smiled. "For now, this makes me happy. And seeing you happy makes me happy." Ethan turned one with a party in the community courtyard. Every family contributed to the celebration, and Michael was moved to see how loved that child was by everyone. When Ethan took his first steps during the party, walking straight into Michael's arms, Amanda couldn't hide her tears. "He loves you," she said that night when they were alone in the apartment. "And I love him, like he was my own son." "Michael," she hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you miss your old life? The money, the status, the business?" "No, not at all. My old life was empty. I had everything and nothing at the same time." "And you're not afraid you'll regret it someday?" "My only fear is that you'll realize you deserve someone better than me." Amanda moved closer and for the first time gently touched his face. "You're the most generous man I've ever known. How could I deserve anyone better? Because you're extraordinary. You saved my life in more ways than you know." They shared their first kiss that night, while Ethan slept peacefully in the next room. It was a tender kiss, full of promise and hope. The months that followed were the happiest of Michael's life. He divided his time between smaller investments and life in the community. He helped Mr. George get a job at one of his companies, funded the nursing course Tiffany had always wanted to take, supported Tyler in starting a small delivery business. The community thrived but kept its spirit of unity and kindness. And at the center of it all was Amanda, continuing to be the heart that kept everyone together. 1 year after their reunion, on a starry night, Michael decided it was time to take the next step. He organized a special dinner on the building's rooftop, overlooking the illuminated city. "What is all this?" Amanda asked, amazed by the romantic decorations. "It's my way of asking if you'll marry me." She was speechless for a moment. "Michael, I know it's still early. I know your life is complicated, but I also know I love you and that I want to spend the rest of my life by your side, and Ethan's. What if it doesn't work out? What if we realize we're too different? Then we'll figure it out together. But I believe two people who saved each other have everything it takes to make it work." Ethan, who was now walking steadily and starting to say his first words, ran to them and shouted, "Daddy!" while pointing at Michael. It was the first time he had ever said that word. Amanda laughed and cried at the same time. "I think Ethan has already decided for me," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." The wedding was held in the community courtyard, with all the families present. Ms. Dorothy was Amanda's matron of honor, and Ethan was the ring bearer, carrying the rings on a small cushion. During the simple yet moving ceremony, Michael made vows that summed up his entire journey. "Amanda, you saved me from an accident, but more than that, you saved me from a life without purpose. You taught me that true wealth lies in relationships, in love, in generosity. I promise to be the best husband to you and the best father to Ethan. I promise to protect our family and this community I love so much." Amanda, in turn, declared, "Michael, when I met you on that highway, I just did what I thought was right. I never imagined that moment would change our lives forever. You showed me that miracles still happen, that good people exist, that love can transform anything. I promise to love you, support you, and build with you a family rooted in true love." 2 years later, Emma Grace, Ethan's little sister, was born. The baby girl came into the world at the same hospital where Ethan had been treated, bringing even more joy to the community that had now become one big family. Michael turned part of his investments into a social fund that ensured education, healthcare, and decent housing for vulnerable families. Amanda became the educational director of the project, implementing innovative teaching programs. The building he had nearly demolished became a symbol of social transformation in the city. Journalists traveled from afar to learn the story of the community reborn through love. "Sometimes I wake up and think this is all a dream," Amanda said one morning as she watched the children playing in the garden. "If it is a dream, I hope I never wake up," Michael replied, embracing her from behind. "Do you ever regret it, giving up the life you had?" "Amanda, my life began the day I found you again. Everything before was just a rehearsal for what truly matters." Ethan, now 3 years old, came running toward them. "Daddy, Mommy, come play with us." Emma Grace, 1 year old, tried to keep up with her big brother on her wobbly little legs, laughing loudly with every step. "Shall we?" Amanda asked. "Let's go," Michael agreed. "This is the best business meeting of my life." They ran after the children, who were shouting with joy in the garden that had been planted where there was once only cracked concrete. And Michael thought there was no more beautiful sight in the world than this: his happy family, his thriving community, and the certainty that he had found his true home. The man who had entered that building with demolition plans had left it rebuilt from the inside out. And he discovered that the best construction of his life wasn't made of bricks and cement, but of love, generosity, and second chances. 10 years earlier, Amanda had saved Michael from an accident, but he now knew she had done much more than that. She had saved his soul, taught him the true meaning of wealth, and shown him that sometimes we need to lose everything to find what truly matters. And when Ethan asked how Daddy and Mommy met, Michael always told the whole story. how Mommy was brave and saved a stranger on the highway, how they miraculously reunited years later, and how they discovered that true love can transform anything. And did they live happily ever after? Ethan would ask. We are living happily ever after, Amanda would correct. And it was true. Amid the challenges of everyday life, the small struggles and daily joys, they had built a solid happiness, rooted in true love and the certainty that they had found their perfect family. The building Michael almost demolished became a symbol that sometimes the best constructions arise when we choose to preserve, renovate, and invest with love in what already exists. And that true wealth isn't in what we can buy, but in what we can build with our own hands and hearts. The end. Now, tell me what you thought of this touching story. Do you believe Michael made the right decision by giving up the Millionaire project? Can true love really transform people's lives as it did for them? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. And don't forget to like this video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other heartwarming stories. Thank you for joining us.